I'll call the public hearing to order. I'll read the public hearing statement. It's a quasi-judicial process, and so there are rules to follow. This public hearing is being convened pursuant to Section 890 of the Local Government Act in order to consider proposed temporary use permit 03-14 for property located at 1255 Fifth Avenue, Valemount, British Columbia. At this public hearing, any person present who believes that his or her interest in property may be affected by the proposed temporary use permit 0314 shall be given an opportunity to be heard on the matters contained in the proposed temporary use permit 0314. However, it is important that all who speak at this meeting restrict their remarks to matters contained in the proposed temporary use permit 0314, and it is my responsibility as chairperson of this meeting to ensure that all marks are so restricted. Those of you who wish to speak concerning the proposed temporary use permit 0314 should, at the appropriate time, commence your address to the council and meeting by clearly stating your name and address. Then you may give us the benefit of your views concerning the proposed temporary use permit 0314. Members of council may, if they so wish, ask questions of you following your presentation. However, the main function of the council members this evening is to listen to the views of the public. It is not the function of council at this public hearing to debate the merits of the proposed temporary use permit 0314. Excuse me. Can you finish reading that? Excuse me.
With
right
individual citizens or presenters. Everyone who deems his or her interest in property to be affected shall be given the opportunity to be heard at this meeting. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making his or her views known. After this public hearing has concluded, council may, without further notice, give whatever effect council believes proper to the representation made at this hearing.
Excuse me, sorry.
During the course of a public hearing, people sometimes tend to become enthusiastic or emotional. Regardless of whether you favor or oppose any particular application or argument, please refrain from applause or other expressions of emotion. Restraint enables others whose views may or may not coincide with your own to exercise their right to express their views, and enables all views expressed to be heard in as impartial a forum as possible.
Okay, thank you, Madam Administrator.
So sorry.
Oh, that happens. And I had cough drops at the ready. Okay, I should like a motion, please, for the adoption of the agenda for the January 27th, 2015 public hearing. Blanchette and Torgerson. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Carried. All right. So I should also like the public hearing for proposed temporary use permit 0314 to allow religious assembly as a permitted use for up to 3 years at 1255 Fifth Avenue, Valemount, BC. And I would like the staff recommendation that council receives public comments, if any, regarding proposed temporary use permit 0314.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Council?
Yes.
I'm Andrew Young, the Corporate Officer and Planner for the Village of Reimer. I'm going to provide you with a brief summary concerning the proposed temporary use permit for your benefit as well as for the benefit of the members of the public who are attending the public hearing. The subject is the proposed temporary use permit 0314 for property located at 1255 Fifth Avenue, Valemount, BC, which is located on the south side of Fifth Avenue between Dogwood and Cedar Streets. The name of the applicants are Peter and Patricia Reimer, who are the owners of the subject property. The application purpose is to seek a renewal of a temporary use permit to allow a church and religious assembly uses on the property for up to 3 years. Some background. The Valemount Community Church was issued a temporary use permit in 2012 to allow a church as a permitted use at the address for 1 year. The current zoning of the property which is Central Commercial C1, does not permit church use. The initial temporary use permit expired in late 2013. The village requested that the property owner apply for another temporary use permit in April of 2014, and the landlord replied with a letter indicating that other municipalities allow church and religious assembly uses in their downtown commercial zones. Following staff research and discussion at the Advisory Planning Commission meeting on September 22nd of 2014, this issue was brought back to Council. The Advisory Planning Commission recommended that the Valemount Community Church be given a temporary use permit to continue occupying the building in the short term, and that the application fee be waived. The Advisory Planning Commission also recommended that church and religious assembly uses not be permitted in the downtown core on a permanent basis, as the central commercial zone is intended to provide for a variety of retail commercial uses in the central area of the village of Valemount, serving area residents and visitors. In regard to downtown planning policy, the Advisory Planning Commission also indicated that not all assembly uses should be excluded from the downtown core. The permitted forms of assembly use in the central commercial zone should be of a more temporary nature, for example, festivals and fairs. However, non-commercial use of buildings in the downtown core, for example, church and religious assembly, should not be permitted uses in the zone. The Village of Valemount zoning bylaw 610 includes provisions for church use with an associated assembly hall in the institutional and cultural facilities zone, which is our P3 zone. There are several sites in the village, zone P3, which include a church building. It should be noted as well that first and second reading of a zoning bylaw amendment, bylaw number 735, to better distinguish which assembly uses are permissible in the village's central commercial zone, was deferred by Council on January 13th of this year, subject to receiving additional information from staff. The Valemount Community Church is currently benefiting the downtown core by occupying a building that would otherwise be vacant. Renewal of the temporary use permit for up to 3 years would allow the church to occupy the building until activity in the downtown core creates additional demand for commercial space. The landlord may choose to terminate the tenancy of the community church if other opportunities arise. Finally, as long as the property is still zoned commercial and charged commercial taxes, no financial loss to the village is expected. The property owner and tenant have not requested a tax exemption for the church.
Thank you. Now, if there is anyone from the public that would like to speak to this, please do so, and up to the microphone, and just state your name and address. Okay. If there's nobody that wishes to make a public comment. Okay, 3 times I ask. All right. Is there anybody who wants to wishes to make a public comment? Okay, Mr. Johnson. Okay, okay. And a member of the Advisory Commission as well, right?
Paul Johnson. Yes, I am.
Okay.
Paul Johnson, 1123 9th Avenue. I think it's really important to have our buildings downtown filled as much as we can. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's pretty important to have this temporary use permit for 3 years for the church. It's pretty valuable to have there.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Council have any questions? No? Anybody else wish to make a comment? Does anybody else want to make a comment on this? Anyone else? Well, hearing none, we can ask that Council receive public comments regarding proposed temporary use permit 0314. Okay, we didn't have a motion on that, did we? Okay, Torgerson and Blanchette. All in favor? Carried. And so if there's nothing further, I'll adjourn the public hearing. Thank you. I should like a motion, please, to adopt the agenda. Salt, and Blanchette. Are there any amendments? Anything else to be added?
Madam Mayor, there is one item that should be added under new business. So it's item 12, and it is item 12.1, the verbal report from staff to follow up on the matter of flagpoles.
Okay, thank you.
The council chamber. Thank you.
Okay, so is there anything further? All in favor of adoption of the agenda as amended? Carried. Now I would like a motion, please, to adopt the minutes of the January 13th, 2015 Committee of the Whole meeting. Okay, Torgerson and Salt. Are there any errors or omissions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Carried. And a motion, please, to accept the recommendations arising from the Committee of the Whole meeting. Okay, Torgerson and Salt again. Any errors or omissions? You're all in favor? Carried. Adoption of the minutes of the January 13th, 2015 regular meeting of Council, please. Motion that Council adopts the minutes of the January 13, 2015 regular meeting. Blanchette and Salt. Are there any errors or omissions? Hearing none, all in favor? Oh, you have one?
Just under delegations, it was repeated twice, Valemount Entertainment Society, just in one sentence. It says, Gord Peter Society, coordinator of the Valemount Entertainment Society and Valemount Community Television Station Manager, and Laura Kyle, president of the Valemount Entertainment Society. Valemount Entertainment Society. So it's just twice, so we can strike one of those.
Okay, I'm sure that staff will do that, and maybe it's just the significance of the presentation, right?
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor of adoption as amended? Carried. So now we go on to agenda item 4.1, Canoe Valley Community Association. And motion, please, to accept the delegation for information purposes. Okay, Blanchette and Salt. And is there, oh, thank you. So please give us your name and address, even though we know who you are.
Hi, my name is Rita Rewards, 1800 Bailey Road. I'm here on behalf of the Canoe Valley Community Association, and actually on behalf of Diana Piper-Smith, who gives her regrets. She was supposed to be giving the presentation tonight, but she can't make it. So she asked me quite at the last minute if I would give her presentation for her. So I'm going to have to read it, so excuse my... Okay, this is for information purposes for the new mayor and council in respect to who our organization is and where we are going, and we're asking for a letter of support for one of the projects that we are, well, for the association and for one of the projects that we are entering into. So, after the collapse of the forest industry, affected communities were thrown into transition. BC residents were faced with reshaping their communities economically or moving to find work. In Valemount, like many other BC communities, a mix of both has happened. Many have moved seeking employment elsewhere, while others stayed and struggled to reinvent their community's economic drivers. With population loss, there's been a corresponding loss of available goods and services. Businesses have closed, and as a transitional community, potential small business investors in Valemount are hard to come by. The reality is community businesses, nonprofit, and charitable organizations have had to step up and change quickly. New partnerships have been formed between business, government, and service organizations and charities to sustain and advance the community through its transitional phases. Failure to support the existing Goods and Services Foundation, nor to promote new economic drivers and a different community model means we will not keep Valemount's current population or businesses, nor will we bring in new families. Non-profit enterprises, through necessity, have become the norm in communities throughout BC, like here in Valemount. Not only do they provide goods and services in transitional communities, they provide employment. In turn, those employees support local businesses and non-profit charitable organizations. The partnerships between business, government, and non-profit organizations are keeping economic drivers going in this community until the transition phase is complete and entrepreneurs want to invest in Valemount. Valemount will be an up-and-coming community with solid foundations should this happen. And it is with this backdrop that the Canoe Valley Community Association was created as a community hub with a vision of being a center focal point that joined nonprofit organizations, charities, and peoples within the community together to work in partnerships. So the Canoe Valley Community Association has been operating for the last 2 years with a grant from Columbia Basin Trust Social Initiatives. And we were just received, we received funding again for the 2015 year, and Columbia Basin Trust is looking at making us a sustainable organization whereby we wouldn't apply for grants every year, that it would be like Columbia Basin Alliance for Literacy and those sustaining organizations, such as their belief in the Canoe Valley Community Association. So we'll be speaking with them later on at the end of this month in order to do that. But in this framework, we have, as if you guys received the information package, you saw the flow charts that were made. We found that over the last year of operations, and indeed through the teachers' strike, that the ages 6 to 10 in particular were not being met. Their needs were not being met. That kids were going home from school. They didn't have adequate childcare. There wasn't adequate things for them to do. They needed to get out and do more. So Active Living Kids project came to life in the fall of 2014 during the teacher strike and through hearing the community children complain that there is nothing to do. There are limited after-school activities, and not all parents are able to afford such activities, nor are they able to afford after-school care, which is why the Canoe Valley Community Association has been working on the Active Living Kids project. This project is needed in the community to fill the gaps in services and programs in the ages 6 to 12 group. Currently, there are groups within our community covering the ages 0 to 6 and the ages of 13 to 19, but there's nothing to keep the age group of 6 to 12 active and safe. The Active Living Kids project will deliver 3 13-week after-school programs, as well as school closure programs, meaning spring break, Pro-D days, etc. And indeed, we're looking towards having a 2-week summer camp each and every year going forward for the kids, and we'll get local artisans and potters and sports activities. Our project will expose the children of this community to the natural beauty of the outdoors, along with arts and culture. The Active Living Kids program will inspire children to have fun, be creative, and keep physical and day-to-day life with positive influence. With activities such as arts and crafts, indoor sports activities and games, horseback riding, rafting, fly fishing, mountain biking, hiking, dance and music, cross-country skiing, and curling, the Centre hopes to get our community children out of their houses and off their computers to create lifetime skills, memories, and experiences. The Centre has already initiated a pre-pilot project that provided school programs for the ages of 6 to 12. Since initiating this pilot project, we've had nothing but positive feedback and the continuation of calls streaming through the doors from parents and community members as to what the Centre will be doing next. A quick recap of these projects are: Hip Hop Dance Lessons was a 13-week program that was funded by the Columbia Basin Youth Initiatives program and led by Cypress Arnston, a grade 10 student. The Storytime Yoga, a 13-week program that was funded by the Regional District of Fraser-Fort George. The Active Living Kids Youth Curling is a 6 weeks program. We partnered with the Valemount Curling Club, and it was funded by Northern Health Imagine Grant. Active Living Kids cross-country ski program, we partnered with the Yellowhead Outdoor Recreation Association, which was funded by the Northern Health Imagine Grant as well. And we have countless days of crafts in the Centre. When exposing our children to these activities, we broaden their horizons for future endeavors by giving them the self-esteem and confidence when challenging themselves. While experiencing this program, the children will learn social and emotional skills, develop self-esteem and confidence, improve their decision-making and conflict resolution abilities. It will foster positive relationships between peers and adults. By helping shape adolescent experiences by involving local government, recreation, social sectors, and families in our community, we can work together to meet the needs of our children. Together, we will create compassion, courage, humor, kindness, and wisdom in all of our children. As the National Crime Prevention Council said, governments, parents, guardians, youth, schools, community need to work together to support the development of nurturing environments and the community spirit to promote well-being in young people. With the knowledge and insight of what was happening in our community, we stand forth on behalf of our membership, which is 70 persons strong, and community parents and state we need fun, educational, and social programs for our 6 to 12-year-old children. Thank you for hearing us.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to let, if you don't mind standing there for several moments, do councillors have any questions?
I wish I was between 6 and 12. No, I think this is fantastic. At the library, we hear a lot of kids, there's nothing to do, and they come in, grab a book, run out, and there's nothing to do. So this is fantastic. This is great.
Okay.
Been doing really great work. See the improvement in children. There has definitely been a lack for those age groups, and it's really great to see the work that you guys have been doing and all the grants that you've been getting and applying for. So good job. Keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well done.
Okay,
I have one question. Have any of you talked to the RCMP about having a DARE program here again?
No, we haven't, but that's a very good idea.
I think so.
And I'll put it forward to Diana as
please
part
do.
of the program, because
Yes.
that would be actually a very valuable thing.
Yes. At one time, the RCMP, it was Corporal Perry Smith who had the DARE program at the elementary school, and I know that through the Community Initiatives program, Columbia Basin Trust, it was funded. And I think it would be something to consider.
That's great. As we're going to be asking we're making a grant right now for the Community Initiatives for a year-long pilot program to encompass it all, to develop, to see how it works, and then once it's to see how self-sustaining it can be and everything else. So that's what we are moving towards.
Good. At that time, it was $3,000. And one of the RCM policemen was trained in that and then conducted the program at the elementary school for the duration of his stay in Valemount. I don't know if it's been done since.
Okay. Thank you so much for hearing me.
And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, and we have a vote.
You have a motion?
To receive?
Yes, so you just need to call the question.
Okay. All in favor to accept the information information purposes? Carried. Okay. So items number 6.1, we have the Canoe Valley Community Association request for a letter of support. And I should like a motion, please, that council considers the Canoe Valley Community Association's request for a letter of support. Blanchette and Torgerson. Is there any further discussion?
This is a great program.
Okay.
Fully supported.
You're ready for the question then? Okay, all in favor of a letter of support? Carried. The staff recommendation, the Wild Safe BC program request for support. There's a recommendation that council considers Wild Safe BC's request for support. Motion, please. Blanchette and Torgerson. Open for discussion? Any questions?
I don't really understand that if we need this. We're not really having some incidents in town, are we, that I don't know of?
We had a scare
I
down
just
a couple of years ago with a cougar out near Johnny O Park. But other than that,
the odd bear.
I mean, there's enough
Deer.
trappers, hunters that really can, and parents that can teach their kids what to do in those situations.
I mean, it's a good program. I just don't think that it's geared, that we don't need it.
You don't feel that it's
My
necessary
personal-
here?
no.
Okay, that's fine then. We'll just take a vote rather that council considered the request and no action taken. Is that council's wish? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Agenda item 8.1. Administrator's report that council by resolution issue a temporary use permit to allow religious assembly use on the property located at 1255 Fifth Avenue for up to 3 years. Noting this is a one-time renewal. Does this then preclude any application after 3 years for an extension?
Mayor Townsend, that is correct. Under the legislation, they are entitled to a one-time renewal.
Okay.
And the proposal as put before you is for the maximum, which is a maximum of 3 years.
Of 3 years.
Following that, as was outlined during, following that, it would be council's pleasure to determine what other use could be made of that property.
Okay.
The other thing too that was pointed out earlier is that there is a proposed bylaw amendment, which council has deferred for the time being, subject to receiving additional information.
Yes.
It's probably about as much as I can say at this point, considering that you have received public hearing comments.
Yes. Okay. I just was wondering whether that would preclude any further consideration or application.
As a temporary use?
As a temporary use? Okay. But it could be rezoned to accommodate?
For example, any property could be rezoned.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. That's what I want to know. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Oh.
Yes. Whoa.
We need to receive it, I think.
Yes, you do. You need a mover in a second.
I thought we had one. Sorry.
I'll move it.
Torgerson and Blanchette. Okay. So all in favor, once again, carried. Regional Land Use Planning, agenda item 8.2. Motion that council approve the renewal of the municipal participation in regional planning agreement with the regional district of Fraser Fort George. And there is information in the agenda package. Moved by Councillor Blanchette and seconded by Councillor Salt, that council approve the renewal of the municipal participation in regional planning agreement with the regional district of Fraser Fort George. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Oh, you have a question.
The 2309 hit to the budget, what does that cover? Just the whole process?
The entire process,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, great.
Yes. Okay. And Valemount benefits a lot more than that.
Agreed.
Okay.
I just wanted that clarified.
All right. All in favor? Carried. Agenda item 8.3. Recommendation that council approves the memorandum of understanding with the First Nation. Motion, please. Salt and Blanchette. Are there any questions? Any discussion? Any clarification required? Councillor Torgerson, I see you reading quickly.
Oh, I'm looking forward to
Okay.
relations.
Okay. So then, all in favor? Carried. Bylaws and policy, agenda item 10.1. Village of Valemount Council Remuneration Bylaw number 736, 2015. Motion, please, to approve third reading of the Village of Valemount Council Remuneration Bylaw number 736, 2015. Okay. And it's Salt and Torgerson. Is there any question or discussion?
It's amazing. Every time I read things, I caught something, and I just want to clarify on 3.2. 3.1 says effective January 1, 2015. 3.2 just says effective January 2015. Should that not also be January 1, 2015?
Good catch, council.
I just, like I say, I read things over and over and I still catch things.
I just wanted to say that you seem to be filling in former Councillor Joan Nordby's shoes.
and former Councillor
Natalie Olson as well. Yes.
I think that
okay.
Materially, I don't think it impacts the bylaw, but thank you for the catch.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was okay, but just...
Okay, so if there's nothing further, all in favor? Carried. .2 Village of Valemount Zoning Bylaw Amendment Bylaw number 716, 2014. Medical marijuana. Recommendation that council give first and second reading to zoning bylaw amendment bylaw number 716, 2014 and forward the bylaw to an upcoming public hearing. and in the interim, direct staff to withhold any building permits and business licenses pertaining to the commercial production of medical marijuana as authorized by Section 929 of the Local Government Act. Motion, please. Blanchette and Salt. Do you have any questions of the staff at this point? Councillor Salt.
I'm just curious why this bylaw is numbered 7/16/2014 when we're now in 2015 and we're just doing first and second reading?
Actually, if I may. There was a draft of this bylaw that had been produced in 2014, so part of this work was initiated then, and a bylaw number was assigned to it in the fall of 2014, although it had not come to council at that point.
Okay.
So rather than cause some confusion in terms of the bylaw numbering, we thought it best actually to bring it forward as a 2014 bylaw proposal, seeing as it had its birth, so to speak, back in 2014.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I just wanted to.
I think this also went to the APC.
Yeah,
did it not?
it did, yeah.
Yeah,
it did.
So.
Yes.
Okay.
Those are additional details which I'll provide at the public hearing.
Okay. Is there anything further? Yes, Councillor Salt.
I just also was wondering about some clarification on the actual bylaw itself, under 4.16, where it's talking about the parcel width and the minimum setback and principal buildings from the interior side parcel line and exterior side parcel line. What are interior and exterior side parcel lines?
I believe interior would be
He's just
side to side, exterior would be front, or the actual back of the property.
But there is front.
okay. The corporate secretary is just reviewing his notes.
So, per the report, the minimum parcel size for the commercial production of medical marijuana would be 2 hectares property. The minimum setbacks of principal buildings on the property for the commercial production of medical marijuana would be 30 meters from all property lines. Now, I've done a sketch. Okay, so whether it's an interior or an exterior line, it's still, the setback is still 30 meters.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that's to the exterior wall of said.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. If you'll notice in comments, there were a lot of complaints about the smells, etc. Okay, so there is a reason for that rationale.
Well, fire as well.
Fire.
And that too.
Yeah.
There are a number of reasons.
Number of reasons.
Okay.
Small clarification for you. It isn't technically to the wall, it's to the building exterior, which could include overhangs and
Okay.
stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion on this? All in favor? Carried. Before we go on to council reports, I should just like to interrupt the meeting just momentarily and welcome Area H, Regional District of Fraser Fort George Director, Danielle Allen. Welcome.
Welcome.
Yes, we're happy to see you here.
Nice to have you.
You'll see me often.
Oh, that's good.
That's great.
Yeah, as long as the roads are good, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I can fly on no matter what road it is.
Anyway, welcome, and we're happy to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Council reports.
Goodness.
I'm going to start anti-alphabetical this time. Councillor Torgerson. Okay.
On the 15th of January, I met with Mr. Pryor of the Valemount Community Forest, as well as Councillor Reimer. We were given an update on the happenings of the Valemount Community Forest. The morning of the 20th, I was given a tour of the facilities by Superintendent Blanchette of our Public Works Department. Many of my questions were answered. I was shocked to learn that we have backup power in a lot of locations of importance, but not all locations necessary to provide long-term services during the power outage, particularly during the winter. That evening, I attended a board meeting of VARDA. Happy to report they have a very progressive board with a new director added that evening. I took ill over the weekend, so unfortunately I was unable to attend Mount Mania nor former Councillor Nordley's 80th birthday celebration. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of sitting down and enjoying their bride's first YouTube presentation of their regular meeting of council, January 13th. And just today, I received another update from Mr. Pryor, in which he mentioned he spoke with Forest Minister Townsend, just in a conversation, who welcomed a meeting later in the year. Great news, actually.
Yes.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councillor Saul?
Well, I haven't been as busy as Councillor Torgerson in the last 2 weeks. However, I was able to attend former Councillor Nordy's 80th birthday celebration. It was quite well attended, and she was like the belle of the ball that day, and it was a good time, and it was really nice to see young and old there to celebrate with her. So, congratulations to her.
Councillor Blanchette?
On the 19th, I had my children and youth mental health meeting, which is going along well. The 21st was another working group for the Better at Home, a good group of people, full steam ahead. I attended Joe Nordley's 80th birthday, and it was fabulous, and she looked wonderful. And on the 26th, which was yesterday, we had our first dementia-friendly video conference, which went really well. We're waiting for the next piece of the puzzle, and then we're going to move on from there. And that's it.
Thank you. I have attended also Councillor Nordley's 80th birthday party, and it was a very nice celebration. I think it was an inspiring manifestation for all those people of how highly regarded she is in Valemount, for all those people to be there to pay tribute to her. So, and she did enjoy herself immensely, and I was very happy for her. Now, those who know me well also know that when someone says something good and complimentary about somebody, I make sure I pass it on. And on January the 14th, Councillor Torgerson, I got a phone call message from President Cynthia Piper of the Valemount Community Forest, and she had met with you and Councillor Reimer, and she wanted me to know how very happy she was after the meeting that the two of you were there, and she knew that you were going to both make a significant contribution to the operation of the Valemount Community Forest, the significant decisions that boards do. So I wanted to pass that on, because we hear enough complaints, but when something nice is said, I make sure I relay it.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Okay, she's very happy with both of you. I saved the message. I attended the Regional District of Fraser Fort George meetings on the, not quite 2 weeks ago, and budget discussions. Also the Ominika Beetle Action Coalition, and the Northern Development Initiative Trust Regional Advisory, Prince George Regional Advisory, and I'm happy to be back there. And I see how they have been. Actually, this building was the NDIT first project. Very first project, and it's a beautiful building, isn't it? So, I think that's about all that I wanted to say at this time. I'm sorry that it's just verbal, but Columbia Basin Trust later this week as well. So, all in favor of, I will take a motion to receive the reports, Blanchette and Salt. And any questions, or?
I'm sad I missed Mrs. Nordley's celebration, but I wasn't going anywhere near that building.
Oh, well, no, of course. There were some senior people there who probably would not have welcomed the germs.
No.
I guess not.
No.
Some of us not so senior too.
Yeah, stay. Okay. So all in favor? Carried. New business? Mr. Young, you've got new business.
Yes, yes I do. Thank you very much, Mayor Townsend. This is concerning the verbal report to follow up on the matter of the acquisition or proposed acquisition of flagpoles for the council chamber. As requested by council last week, I had made contact with, attempted to contact 4 parties. I did successfully contact 3 out of 4. So in summary, without naming any names, one I was not able to contact. Another party I did speak with and emailed material to that individual, who in turn chose not to provide a quotation. A third individual did provide a rough estimate, but also indicated that the village might actually be able to acquire things more competitively privately, and so withdrew as well. The remaining individual provided a quotation. Again, no names, but the quotation was for significantly more than the amount that was proposed in the report last week.
Okay.
The other factor too is that if we were to go further with this and pursue a local craftsperson, we would have to advertise, which would also add to the cost of providing them. Accordingly, my recommendation from last week, as presented to council, would be that we source the flagpoles, for example, from the flag shop.
Okay.
And I leave that in your capable hands to consider. That's the content of my verbal report, and that is kind of a recap of my recommendation.
Thank you very much. I did take a photo at the Regional District of Fraser Fort George boardroom, as well as in the Senate room at UNBC. So I can let council members take a look at that later if you wish. In the meantime, I'll take a motion to receive the Corporate Secretary's report, verbal report. Okay, Torgerson and Salt. Do you have any questions or any comments that you wish to make at this time? No, not at this time? Okay, all in favor of receipt? Carried. Thank you. Thank you very much for looking into that for us.
You're welcome.
List of outstanding previous council resolutions, 13.1. Do we have outstanding resolutions?
If you're right at the back of your package.
Okay.
I would say there's a lot fewer.
Yeah, it's down to one page.
Just down to one page. Okay. Okay. Oops. I'm missing it. I think so. That's right. I don't know if I lost it while reading through it. Okay. Oh, okay. I'll take a motion then to receive the outstanding resolutions. Okay, Blanchette and Salt, and it's open for discussion. Are there any questions?
It's nice to see it down to one page. Thank you.
Okay, it was 2 pages before or more?
Page and a half.
Page and a half? Okay. Well, very well done. Are there any questions regarding or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of receipt? Carried. Thank you. I see it now. Okay. Yeah, I don't have any comments with respect to this. If there's no further business, okay, calendar of events. Motion to receive, Blanchette and Salt. Is there anything that council wishes to discuss there? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of receipt? Carried. All right. Agenda item number 15. This is where we open the floor up for public comment. So if anybody has a public comment that they wish to make.
Paul Johnson, 1123 9th Avenue. I was one of the people contacted about the flag stands, and there's just an issue with supply of materials. And because I work with wood, the base would have to be quite large. There's not enough room back there for a large base flag stand. And also the flags we have grommets in, which poses another issue. Mm-hmm. I did supply with Andrew when I replied. I looked quite a bit online at the flag shop, and there is a flag stand and a base for $95. It's a 10-foot extendable gold flag stand. To me, it looks pretty good, but of course that decision is up to you guys.
Yes.
So that's all. Thanks.
Petty cash. Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there any further public comment? Does anybody wish to make? Okay.
Rita Reavers, 1800 Bailey Road. Thank you for doing something about the flags. They've been picking at me for a long time, and I've been just about them, so thank you for doing something about that.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Thanks. Is there anybody further that wishes to make a comment during this time? No? Okay. Hearing none, I'll take a motion, please, to proceed to in-camera. Salt and Torgerson. Yes?
We received the public comment.
Oh, do we need a motion to receive the public comment? Okay. Salt and Torgerson, all in favor? Carried. Motion then to proceed to in-camera. They've changed a few things over the last few years. Salt and Torgerson again. Okay, all in favor? Carried.